Hello everyone and welcome to the Sunday Funnies Review. I'm Desmond Gillick and you're watching the Sunday Funnies Review. It is the week of Sunday, June 14th, 2020, and now let's get into the Peanuts rerun. I quite like this Peanuts rerun of the week, mainly because it's a baseball comic, good old American pastime. And I like the punchline of, have you ever won? Which is obviously no, he hasn't. And then it's like, I don't really understand. The game is ready, and you're still here without your shoes on. Because, he always puts his left shoe on first. Because what if he put his right shoe on first? What if he loses? And then he's like, mind games of what if putting on the left shoe is making us lose each time. So it's just a good classic comic all the way around. I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10, actually. I'll give it a 6.8 out of 10. Up next is the Zits, a timeless classic, really. It starts off with the father putting on some comfortable clothes, and then it's like, yeah, if Dad dressed any more comfortably, he'd be wearing a meatloaf sweatshirt and mashed potato slippers. Don't give him any ideas. It's pretty good. I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. It's the foxtrot of the week, and so essentially it's like, hey, do you want a cookie? You made them? Ew, gross, yuck, blah. And then she's like, never mind. He's like, okay, actually, I'll try one. I didn't laugh out loud, but it's a 6.5 out of 10, But when it comes to laughing out loud, I did give a little reaction to the better for worse in an auditory sense, because dog comes up, he nudges the elbow, and then he gets pet, and then he nudges the elbow, he gets pet, and then he moves his elbow slightly further in so he can't nudge it, so he goes over to the other one, nudges the boiling hot coffee onto him, and then he screams at him. I quite like the simple punchline of, we can't see what he's saying because we're from dog POV. I'll give it a 6.8 out of 10. Up next is the Garfield of the week. And I don't like this Garfield of the week at all. It's just a 6.5 out of 10. But I do think this would be a kind of funny Garfield without Garfield, because it's just, John looks to the right and then says, uh-oh. So it's just a 6.5 out of 10. One moment. So, my Netflix, still haven't logged back into it. It's been a week, and I've been watching my DVDs recently. I have a DVD collection, so I've been watching Scooby-Doo on DVD to try to plug the hole in my heart that is Mystery Incorporated, and it's not working all that much, but we'll get there one of these days. So up next is the BC of the week. And I didn't, laugh out loud at this comic, but I kind of think it's witty and funny. Because it's like, hey, I'm going for a walk, be careful, why? The food chain's gotta start somewhere. And then it's like, I'm gonna try to pronounce that, Apteryx, a wingless bird with hairy feathers. I'm an arthropod, and then he just goes into a biological definition of what an ant is, which makes me want to fling him over. And then it's like, you couldn't have just said insect, you couldn't have just said freak of nature. Didn't laugh out loud. I think it's just witty, but, it's a 6.5. It's a 6.5, Up next, the Hagar the Horrible of the week. I don't think it's horrible this week, but it's just Hagar the subpar. It's just, I almost gotta be the guy with the most cake, which reminds me, Helga, where's the last slice of cake? Can you help me find it? And then, she finds it, but then she eats it. A classic bit, really. This is like a classic scenario you've seen played out thousands of times. So it's just a 6.5 out of 10. Up next is the Wizard of Id of the week. And listen, between you and me, I genuinely thought he was just gonna get hung this week. This isn't Id or the Wizard or anyone we've seen ever. But it's just this guy is hiccuping. Then he goes to the gallows. Then they're about to hang him, which scares him so much that his hiccups are gone. Which is it's such a good joke, you know. And to think that he's gonna get hung for real next week is even funnier. So anyway, it's the Wizard of Id that week, and I quite liked it. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Up next is the Mother Goose and Grimm of the week. And, you know, the thing about the Mother Goose and Grimm this week is that it caught me off guard, because it's a 4-paneler. But, you know, one panel is ARF, another panel is this depressing, one is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and then the other one is some geometry thing, I don't know. So, you know, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Actually, 5.5 out of 10. But if you thought that would be our lowest point of the week, no, it definitely is, and it's the Doonesbury of the week, and it's the I don't like the Doonesbury of the week. It's the 2 out of 10 of the week. Now over to the family circus, you know. And listen, the family circus of the week is one of the funnier ones I've seen, and it's still gonna get the wholesome award of the week because of this middle panel. But I like the thing is, there's no such thing as bad weather, there's just different kinds of good weather, which is a child's optimistic viewpoint. So he's like, whoa, look at lightning, whoa, look at snowball, whoa, look, it's windy, oh, it's a nice sunny summer day, oh, it's raining, the void. So, you know, I laughed at the void, because I don't know what that's actually supposed to be. What weather is that supposed to show that it's windy? Because this is windy. So what is this? This is just the void. So it gets a 7.5 out of 10, and it also gets the wholesome award of the week. Up next is the shoe of the week. We're back to Brown Bird, not George Costanza, sadly. And it's just a simple, Skylar, what travels faster than the speed of light? Weekends. Bum. So, in my opinion, it gets a solid 6.5 out of 10, you know. Just a solid setup punchline for a Sunday Funny. Shouldn't be in S-tier comics, so it's just run-of-the-mill. Now, something that isn't run-of-the-mill is this week's Blondie of the week. Because, you know, the telephone rings, and he's like, hello? And then the guy's like, you want to talk to Cookie? And then it's like, yes, please. Who shall I say is calling? You have a phone call, honey. Who is it? He says he's your ex-boyfriend. She wants to know which one. I'm not ashamed of this. I laughed out loud. I made a very audible reaction to this week's Blondie of the week. And so I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 this week. I really like the Blondie of the week this week. Up next is the Dilbert of the week. And, you know, it's not the least funny Dilbert. I like the idea of, you know, Dilbert being like, yeah, well, Jeff doesn't understand my product strategy because he isn't an engineer, and I don't stand any of his marketing nonsense. That's why we came to you. And he's like, I think we didn't have a, you know, coin to flip, and your decisions are totally random, so... And then it's like, maybe you could describe the situation. I don't see how that helps, you know. Essentially just like, even if we tell you, you're just going to pick one or the other. And he's like, ooh, red shirt good, Dilbert, you win. You know, so that's... It's a funny-ish premise, but I don't think they completely delivered on the punchline. And thus, I'm going to give the Dilbert a 6.5 out of 10 this week. Up next is the Marvin of the week, or should I said Bowlhead of the week. If you can't tell, it's a Cuphead joke in the year 2020. It really makes me wonder, how far in advance does Tom Armstrong write his comics? Because I heard that Jim Davis said that he could write an entire week's worth of comics in 4 days. Or an entire month's worth of comics in a week, rather. Got the things mixed up. So, you know, this implies that he can bang out a comic a day, and he had such a gigantic backlog that he just decided to drop this 2016 comic in the year 2020. Or at least I think 2016. I forget when Cuphead came out. But even for being a Cuphead thing, I just don't like it. It's just not good. It's the Marvin of the week. It's the subpar of the week. It's a 6.5 out of 10, you know? It's a bit higher than any other Marvin has gotten, really, but... man, this Marvin of the week is driving me mad. 1 minute to flip it all over and whatnot. Man. Did you ever hear of Scooby-Doo and the Monster from Mexico? 'Cause I know I haven't. Or at least I hadn't until yesterday when I was talking to a friend about Scooby-Doo movies when I was trying to watch Scooby-Doo and the Legend of the Vampire. But, you know, yada yada. Up next is the baby blues of the week. And it's the baby bad of the week. I don't like this punchline. It's a funny quarantine haircut joke, you know, giving my boys the fresh quarantine cut. And that's what they all look like. All of them look like this except for the mother. And it's just the worst because it's just father has bad haircut, baby has bad haircut, and other baby has bad haircut. Even though last week their hair wasn't egregiously long, they're just trying to be relatable, and I want to beat them all up for it. 6 out of 10 this week. Up next is the high and lowest of the week. And you know what? I quite like this high and lowest of the week. It's got this whole conversation about like a classroom chicken that just had chicks. And then they're like, well, maybe we can take one of them home. You know, we'd have to buy a coop and grain and stuff. We might get some eggs. Yeah. And then we can turn them into chicken nuggets and eat them. So then she's like, ooh, Miss Darcy, I think the chicks should go home with a vegetarian. You know, it's nice. It was a strong contender for Wholesome Award of the Week, but I think The Void took it out. And so I'm going to give it a solid 7 out of 10. Up next is the Sally Forth, you know. This week's Sally Forth is quite simple. It's all about the stars and all that. And, you know, I think Sally Forth's trying to be all romantic, and then other Forth is trying to, you know, just be funny, as per usual. It's just a standard Sally Forth, really, you know, run-of-the-mill, 6.5 out of 10. And of course, the Close to Home, which is never run-of-the-mill ever. It's amazing. It's a solid 7 out of 10. Maybe even 7.23 out of 10. You know, 2 to 3 out of 10. Give it a 7.3 out of 10. Because it's like the Glorgenheim Museum of Modern Art. And it's like, hey, Fred, the middle painting there. My 3-year-old drew it last week. I stuck it in a frame and voila, masterpiece. Which is a joke on modern art and how it can be misconstrued as anything, yada yada. It's a solid punchline, but I really love the way that John McPherson draws every week to display, you know, the venomous nature of that security guard, which is just a classic. And so I'm gonna give it, 7.3 out of 10. Up next is The Born Loser, and you know, it's just, oh, Brutus, in case you haven't noticed, the TV isn't receiving any channels. Should I call the cable company to send someone out? And he's like, no, you lousy dame. They charge more on weekend calls. You'll just have to sit without your stupid soap opera until tomorrow. And then she's like, did you forget that the big game you wanted to watch was today? And he's like, hey, why didn't you say it was an emergency before coming in here? Call them immediately. Come on. You know. It's the Born Loser of the week. What can I say? It's just a 6.5 out of 10 for the Born Loser this week. And so, upon wrapping up the Sunday Funnies, the best comic this week was the Blondie with an 8 out of 10. The lowest was the Doonesbury, and the Wholesome Award was the Family Circus. And so, that neatly puts a bow on today's Sunday Funnies and adds to the ever-expanding pile. And while I have your time and attention, I just wanted to ask, what Scooby-Doo movie should I watch next, you know? I just want to know, because I'm I'm a little too afraid to ask for the Netflix password. Okay, bye.